of having to have an in-out referendum and probably have to say out.
I mean, I think what Cameron has been afraid of, and he's right to have been afraid of it, is Ed Miliband catching him out on this and making a really bold statement by saying, actually, we're going to offer people a referendum. And that would have made Cameron look very weak. So I think he did have to come out and say something. What's just a bit odd is the timing of it and how garbled it's been. Now,
on banking, although Rachel Reeves didn't quite say it, it's pretty clear that Labour are waiting to see how Bob Diamond performs. And every chance that after they hear what he has to say, they are going to call for his resignation.
Absolutely. And I think that he really should go. I mean, he was either complicit in what was happening or he was totally negligent. And I think either way, the fact that he doesn't realise that the public need to see someone taking responsibility is symptomatic of an entire industry that's completely out of touch. And I don't think it would be a risk for Labour to say, actually, we need him to go. The one point I would make, though, after this is that this is much, much bigger than Bob Diamond. And I do think that we need a Leveson-style inquiry now for the banking sector. I mean, it's very interesting, the parallels between the two. We have a set of elites in an over-concentrated industry who think that they are above the rules and manipulate them for their interest rather than the public interest. And actually, I think we do need some kind of reckoning now, and that Ed Miliband has been right to call for that public inquiry.
How much do you think we'd actually find out? I mean, these things cost so much money, and in the end, they often feel a bit like theatre, don't they?
I think you hold an inquiry into a specific event, like, for example, Bloody Sunday. To hold an inquiry into banking or the culture of banking, something as amorphous as that, will be like holding an inquiry into
Can I just remind you that Bloody Sunday took about 6 years and cost £250 million?
That in itself was amorphous and unwieldy and went on for too long and cost too much. But to do it on the culture of banking would allow it to turn into what Leveson has become, which is an inquiry which has no discernible limits and which will result in conclusions that satisfy no one. Which of the 5 Iraq inquiries have placated the people who called?
Well, we're still waiting on one.
We've forgotten the last one,
yeah. And they're still meeting in a cubbyhole in Whitehall.
And the 5th of the 5 won't please anyone, and neither will an inquiry into banking. I should say that politically, in a sane world, the government would want an inquiry into banking because it has very little to lose from it. Most of the regulatory failures took place previously, and Labour should actively oppose one because they're the ones who are going to be in front of it. And yet the exact inverse has happened, and I think both have got their political calculations wrong.
In a sense, though this has caught people's attention almost more than the slump itself, because they've worked out, although they don't know what LIBOR is, and it probably didn't really affect them, it was a kind of victimless crime in a way for ordinary people. People behind closed doors were fixing things, rigging things, and I think the public mood is, why isn't someone going to jail for this?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's simple to understand. You don't have to be too sophisticated about it. You can see an exchange of emails that says, hey, mate, can you change it to this? And the other guy says, yeah, just for you. And it just looks really dodgy.
Fixing an interest rate, which is at the heart of London's integrity as a global financial centre.
This is another reason why I think we do need an inquiry. And incidentally, it has happened in the States and has been very successful there as well, because what it does is it says that if you do wrong, you will be publicly shamed, and that stops a massive adverse selection problem happening, or moral hazard problem happening afterwards.
We're increasingly getting that with the select committees. It's become very Americanised, the way we wheel these people out, put them behind the stand as if, you know, is this what goes on?
We're not as good as asking questions as the Senate yet. Well, we have a bit to learn.
We'll get there.
I believe it's only the start. Many other banks are going to be done for this LIBOR scam as well. If Bob Diamond goes, you could see the case for a complete cull of the current banking system.
Cameron hasn't ruled out having a full Leveson-style inquiry on this, and with 20 more banks to go.
Miranda's pushing for it. They'll be listening.
You should share it.
I will share it. That's all for this week. Joe Coburn will bring you the Daily Politics on BBC 2 tomorrow at the earlier time of 11 o'clock. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time when our guest will be the Shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper. Remember, if it's Sunday, it's the Sunday Politics. Unless, of course, it's the Wimbledon men's final.